My name is John, and the International Criminal Court is now in session. It is December 9th, 2023, and as of right now, the Israeli Defense Forces are continuing to advance in the northern and, yes, southern portions of the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip. So, as all of you remember by now, I made a video on October 14th, 2023, so that's almost 2 months ago now, and this war is clearly ways from being over. I talked about the potential of a final showdown taking place between Israel and the Hamas, aka the Palestinian Muslim Brotherhood, and it appears that my prophecy has come true. They did go with a full-scale invasion of Gaza, and they did just that on October 27th, 2023. So as of right now, the IDF, also known as the Israeli Defense Forces or the Israeli Army, they've taken Atara, which is like one of the densely popularized, populated areas in the Gaza Strip. Atara, which is like, I guess, one of their suburbs, I guess, of Gaza. The Israelis took that. They basically took the entirety of the border with, with Gaza in the northern direction. And currently, Israel is attacking some more neighborhoods right now. They're literally like dug deep into Gaza City. They've taken basically most of the downtown area. And they've taken the entirety of the coastal line. Like, if you're the Hamas fighters fighting here, there's literally nowhere to go. I mean, the entire coastline is now all but gone. And you cannot go through the south either. It's all completely sealed off. And Israel, by the way, just advanced to take like one of the major city squares in this area. And a couple days ago, Israel made another significant advance, located just north of Khan Yunis. They literally took the roads, literally just the roads, even though they're trying to expand basically their controls. So I guess they're going to try to create a pocket here, like besiege some militants here and take it, which would include the settlements of Jarrah, Al-Qara, and Al-Sarij. And hopefully, at least for Israel, they'll be able to establish further control of Khan Yunis, which is where I bet a lot of Hamas commanders are currently residing in right now, even though I've heard reports that the Hamas leadership is actually still hiding in Gaza, like in underground bunkers. But otherwise, things are not looking good for them, and the Israeli army is continuing to advance, and in addition to that, the Egyptian army has mobilized troops to the border with Gaza. Not to invade, but for defensive postures against Gaza militants from the Gaza Strip. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the update. But let's talk a bit about the political side of things right now. As all of you know by now, there's a lot of protests ongoing in the United States right now as of this video about the state of the war. A lot of people are complaining that the Israelis are being allowed to get away with too much. Because as of right now, as of the making of this video, the Palestinian count of deceased is already now past 10,000 people. Men, women, and children. And people have been criticizing the Israeli army for their indiscriminate bombings, for their deliberate ethnic cleansing, stealing like their territory, like land grabbing, which is basically, at least according to the United Nations, violating international law, etc. And in recent times, the only country that has actually tried to show some major support for the Palestinians has been Yemen. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute. The legitimate government of Yemen is like in Aden, and it's not even in Sana'a. Well, from my point of view, anybody who's in Sana'a is the legitimate government of Yemen. And most of the Yemeni population is also under the control of the Houthi rebels too. So in that case, I kind of got to reward the legitimate seat to the Houthis. And they recently launched like attacks on Israeli cargo ships that have been leaving their southern port here, which is like the southern tip, Eilat. So basically, any Israeli ships that go from Eilat all the way through the Red Sea or so, unfortunately for them, it's going to get hijacked by the Houthi militants. And I saw some videos lately that have surfaced of the Houthi militants basically celebrating the hijacking of Israeli vessels. And as far as I know, Israel has yet to literally respond to these boat hijackings. The Saudis have not really stopped the Houthis from doing anything. Well, except for ground troops. They're not letting them in because they don't want to provoke Israel even more. Now, even though Saudi Arabia has stated themselves that ties between them and the Israelis have sort of been put on hold due to the war, like they're literally not a fan of the Israeli ground invasion of Gaza. They literally are not. But for PR purposes, they had no choice but to basically put it on hold because they don't want to anger their citizens who just so happen to be pro-Palestine. So in this case, Saudi Arabia, while I do believe they lean towards Israel, they publicly have to be either neutral or show some sort of sympathy towards the Palestinians, like publicly. But behind the scenes, though, I believe they're pro-Israel. The United Arab Emirates is sort of showing the same stance because I think they banned the Hamas in their country because they see them as Muslim Brotherhood. Muslim Brotherhood are banned in the UAE, and literally the only big countries or so that are literally supporting the Hamas militants are Iran and Yemen. That's literally it. Otherwise, they're pretty much left in the dust. But yeah, on the political side of things in the Middle East, I'm expecting the Arabs to not really support Hamas that much, neither Turkey, despite them saying, oh, we're going to help them. No, they won't, because they don't want to piss off Israel and the U.S. And don't forget, Turkey is also a NATO member, and they also rely a lot on Europe for their economy. So yeah, they don't want to piss off the West by supporting the Palestinian militants in Gaza. They just can't. They're kind of being held hostage. And meanwhile, in the United States, I mean, the support for Israel is very bipartisan, at least in the U.S. House of Representatives and Senate. You have people on both sides, the Democrats and the Republicans, as they've always have been since the creation of Israel itself, that we're going to support Israel no matter how badly they get criticized, no matter how many war crimes they commit. We don't care. United States will never, ever turn their back on Israel. That's never going to happen. Mainly because Israel, and this is not a conspiracy theory, by the way, this is a fact, Israel literally has the money to keep the politicians on their side. Literally, APEC, the American Israeli, Political Affairs Committee or something like that, they're sort of like the lobbyist group, as you know. I think they're either based in D.C. or New York. They're based on the East Coast somewhere. But APEC is who pays our politicians to remain on their side. Palestinians don't really have that same amount of resources, like infinite resources that the Israeli lobby has. They just don't. And that is why I am absolutely convinced that Israel will continue to keep the U.S. House of Representatives, the Senate, and the President himself all on their side. Because at the end of the day, they not only have the money, but they have the political influence, especially in the European Union. The Israelis also have the weaponry. They have the economic benefits too. I mean, Israel is literally the United States' biggest ally in the Middle East and on the Mediterranean. They're a geopolitical asset for the United States and the EU. So they cannot stop being allies with Israel, like just one day or so, and assume that Palestine, which is what would be the name of a so-called Palestinian state, will then take our side. No, that's not going to happen. A hypothetical Palestinian state would most likely side, in my opinion, with Syria, Lebanon, and I guess Iran. They wouldn't side with all these pro-Western countries. They just wouldn't. Like, why should they? They're the ones who have been trying to help destroy them for 80 years or so now. So why all of a sudden turn your back on your allies? On the guys who actually did try to help you? They're not going to do it. They just won't. Now, personally for me, what I think is going to happen now is I do believe that the casualty count for the Israeli army is going to continue to skyrocket. And maybe it will get to like maybe a few thousand men on the IDF side dead. But will that stop the Israelis from winning the Gaza Strip like completely? No. They're going to continue to push on, and push on until all this that you see right now is blue. And I do believe they are going to eventually prevail militarily. But there are a lot of geopolitical consequences to the death of any hope of a Palestinian state. There are really severe consequences to this. And one of those things is the fact that the U.S. has killed any sort of goodwill it had between them and their Middle East partners, who have been sympathetic towards the Palestinians. They're never going to talk to the United States again. They're never going to take us seriously again. Forget about it. And also, I want to mention that the Muslim population in Michigan, and that's right, in the United States, we have like a huge population of Muslims living like in the Detroit metro area. These people helped Joe Biden get elected. As all of you remember, Joe Biden won around like 150 plus thousand votes in Michigan. More so than Donald Trump did in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. Now imagine if in the 24 election, these Muslim voters go out to vote. Or they just stay home. Because neither candidate will actually fight for Palestinians. They know Joe Biden is a little more deceitful about what he's doing. But Donald Trump, though, is honest. He literally stated blatantly that, for the most part, at least that's what I think, is that he doesn't care about a Palestinian state. And that he prefers Israel all day, every day. Joe Biden, on the other hand, he talks about peace, a two-state solution. But it never happens. Trump, though, has a much more honest stance on the matter and a more realistic approach. Now, it's not to say that the Muslim Americans living in Michigan are going to vote for Trump. No, they're not going to vote for him. If anything, they're more likely to stay home, which could cost Joe Biden a lot of votes in next year's election. And considering how close 2016 and 2020 are, you don't want to lose these Muslim voters. And election 2024 is not even that far away. We're like literally 11 months away from the next election. And the polls are not looking good for Joe Biden. The odds of Donald Trump returning to power right now are quite high. The economy is not doing great. We're literally being humiliated right now on our southern border and in Ukraine. And we once again stand with a country that refuses to follow basic human rights. So yeah, that's why I think Joe Biden might lose in 2024. But we'll see. Time will tell. But yeah, so yeah, that's going to pretty much do it for today's video. So tell me in the comment section below, people, what do you think is going to happen next in the war between the Israelis and the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip? Will Israel take control of the Gaza? Will Israel be able to hold on to the Gaza? Post-war, that is. And will the Israelis, for once, actually treat the Palestinians like human beings and not like animals or something for once? Only time will tell. So I hope all of you have a great day, and peace out. Have a good one.